So this is the room. I'm in here alone. All right. So I'm going to start off by doing the 12 safety practices, which is verify care order for client, perform hand hygiene before and after client care, or handling supplies and equipment. And then also I'm going to verify facility policies and procedures when handling supplies and equipment. I'm going to consult manufacturers' recommendations whenever I don't need that. Whenever I handle equipment, and then I'm going to what did I already say? Oh, then I'm going to knock before entering the patient's room. I'm going to identify the patient using 2 identifiers. I'm going to note overall condition. I'm going to explain the procedure, provide for privacy. I'm going to raise the bed for good body mechanics, and then I'm going to put non-PPE if indicated. I'm going to, upon completion, I'm going to lower the bed, apply side rails or lower side rails according to care plan, and place call light system in place within reach. And then if any abnormal findings, I'm going to immediately report those to my charge nurse. So this is Mr. Jones. I've already raised his bed, kind of gotten him into position, and put a blue pee pad or water absorbent pad underneath him. So I'm going to wash my hands before I start the process, obviously. I'm going to provide pericare before I start this process, which I already have, with washcloth and gloves, obviously. I'm going to then get my sterile intact straight cath because I'm getting a urine culture from him, and some sterile gloves. I'm going to make sure this is intact and in date before I begin the process. I'm going to let him know that I'm beginning my process, Mr. Jones, which I've already explained to him what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and open my cath kit and open it up. The trash is going to be at the foot of the bed, so it's out of my way. And I've got this for my sterile gloves. So I'm going to place this where I need it, which is going to be away from me. And so I'm going to pull it away from me, make sure that if I need to adjust it, I can. I still have a 1-inch border that I can adjust around. Make sure I don't cross over my sterile field, though. So I've got it adjusted where I want it. And so now I'm going to get it my blue pad. So I'm going to come in the least invasive way, which I believe would be this way this time. So I'm going to come around him. I'm going to reach around and come below him. And if the patient was able to raise his butt up, I would ask, Mr. Jones, can you raise your butt up? But since he can't, I'm going to help him. So I'm going to raise his butt up and assist him with adjusting the blue pad where it needs to be. So I'm going to bring you guys closer so you can see a little bit better. All right. So now that I've got that in place, I'm going to go ahead and put on my sterile gloves. I'm sorry, I'm a little sick. I normally, in real practice, I probably wouldn't be giving him a catheter since I'm not feeling my best. I'd make sure that I don't remove my eyes. I kind of keep both in my keep the sterile field in my eyesight. That way I don't turn my back on it or anything like that. So I'm going to start off by gripping my sterile gloves and putting it in my hands. I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to make sure that I don't cross-contaminate anything. So I'm going to keep it. I can adjust it as I need to. So now that I have it, I'm going to keep it out away from me in between my waist and my shoulders, and I'm not going to cross over them or anything. So now that I've got my sterile gloves on, I can touch my sterile field. I'm going to go ahead and set up everything And that way all I have to do once I start is just keep one hand. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my culture cup. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here, which is also a sterile field. And that way I can just set it up on my end table whenever I'm done, so I don't have to try to close it with one hand. I'm going to go ahead and set up my catheter. I'm going to put it in lube. And that way it's more comfortable in being inserted. I'm going to make sure that I don't fling it around everywhere, that it still needs to be sterile. And I'm not crossing my hands at any point. So, bringing that over there. And I'm going to go ahead and get my swabs. I'm going to open them and kind of shimmy them out a little bit so I can easily access them with just one hand. So I'm going to go ahead and get my catheter set up in the right position. Alrighty. So now that I've got that, I'm going to place my kit fairly close to him. So now that I've got all that set up, I can use my dirty hand. Mr. Smith, I'm going to touch you, okay? So I kind of touch right there. If he is uncircumcised, I will pull the foreskin back so I can clean the meatus. I'm going to clean it with one swab at a time. I'm going to take the swab and start at the meatus and work my way downward in circular motions. And then I'm going to come out of my sterile field and just throw it in the trash. And I'm going to start where I left off, continuing downward in circular motions. And come out and throw it in the trash. And for my last one, I'm going to continue with that. And so like I said, I already performed period care, but it's important that you clean it really good so you prevent urinary tract infections, anything like that. Because catheters goes up into the bladder and it can contaminate if you're not sterile. So that's why this needs to be a sterile procedure. So I'm going to go ahead and get my catheter and I'm going to insert it into the penis, into the urethra. I'm going to extend it. I'm going to extend the penis straight, and then I'm going to insert the catheter. So the urethra straight. Once I go past the prostate, I'll go past it just a centimeter or two. And once I get urine, I'm going to go ahead and collect my sample. And once I get enough in my cup, I'm going to continue to let the urine go into this container. And while it's going, I'm going to go ahead and set it up here, which is also my sterile field. And then once it's done, I'm going to remove the catheter. Sometimes this can be a little bit messy and stuff. And I'm going to replace the foreskin. And I'm going to clean everything up and make sure Mr. Jones is comfortable. Make sure that I continue to check on him, make sure that he's not having any issues with controlling his bladder or anything like that after this culture. So thank you.